This episode is sponsored by CuriosityStream. Get free access to my streaming service Nebula when you sign up for CuriosityStream using my link in the description. Retro WB logo counts for Joker-style 80s opening credits. A visual representation of this movie. It physically hurts Arthur to put on a happy face, especially when you consider the source telling him to do so, his abusive mother. In addition to these awesome tracking shots, you might notice how little of the sky we see, and it's deliberate. Even when we do see the sky in a wide, it's overcast. Other times, buildings were digitally added to make Gotham its own oppressive character in the movie that's always trying to crush Arthur. This moment of awfulness, literally kicking a guy while he's down, brought to you by Icelandic composer Hildur Guðnadóttir. I can't possibly be pronouncing that correctly.
My name is Hildur Guðnadóttir, and I'm
Anyway, her Oscar-nominated at least, absolutely killer score. Droning and dragging and weeping. This movie is not the same without it. And there's never a wrong time for a little clown comedy. What a title card. Bold, slightly bleeding beyond the edges of the frame, reminding us the Joker is larger than life, larger than 65mm. Another, I gotta say, inspired choice for the Joker. Laughter is supposed to be a joyful sound. Instead, it rips at Arthur's throat and pulls his face into a grimace.
I think I told you I'm pursuing a career in stand-up comedy.
No, you didn't.
I think I did.
There you have it. Whether he did or didn't, he knows he did, and one more person who's supposed to care about him doesn't.
I just hope my death makes more sense than my life.
Appreciating your own joke and also fake out and shadowing since he was already considering suicide. Always a little bit of white paint left over on his chin as if he can never wholly take the clown mask off, something he learns to embrace. The first time it happens, we're left to sit with his condition and think about why and what's going on. Lesser writers write a line of dialogue where the therapist comments on it. The stairs, the now famous stairs, nailing home Arthur's struggle and slog through life.
How skinny you are.
Apple a day keeps the doctor away was Joaquin's motto during prep, as in that's all he ate.
He'll make a great mayor. Everybody says so. He's the only one who could save the city.
Clairvoyance? Unless you're the type of person who thinks Thomas Wayne's son actually keeps the city in a perpetual state of crime? This is the moment that justifies so much of the movie. Are we watching a fantasy, a flash forward, flash back? We don't know Arthur or his story yet well enough to know for sure. His laugh seems goofy enough. The irony here is that Arthur is so out of touch with social norms he doesn't realize his fake laugh is off-putting, so it makes its way into his fantasy. But once we get to know Arthur, we know this isn't how this interchange would have gone, at least pre-Jokerification.
She says I was put here to spread joy and laughter.
Even fantasy version Murray doesn't believe the lines Arthur's writing for him.
You know, this, the lights, the show, the audience, all that stuff. I'd give it all up in a heartbeat to have a kid like you.
It does become pretty clear by the end it isn't real. And wouldn't you know, the unreliable narrator comes up again. Also fantasy hugging. Simple shot, but something of a conceit for the entire movie. Arthur is just stretching his leather shoes, I guess, but he's shot from behind in a way that makes anyone seeing him uncomfortable. He's all bone and sinew, but still comes off powerful and inhuman. You could even project a sinister vibe onto him, or say a political movement, or other things being unintentionally conveyed.
You can pay me back some other time.
He will. Just in case you weren't sure if that laugh was fake.
He's going out of business, for God's sake, Arthur.
Why would I keep his sign?
That delivery. Joaquin Phoenix is always a win? The first hint that Arthur sees things in a different way than Sophie. This interchange was a complete win in his mind, but he clearly freaked her right out. Travis had the foresight to keep all his guns unloaded. But hey, what are you gonna do? Dancing skill is more important to Arthur than we may have realized. We're getting quick glimpses into Arthur, both his inability to know what is funny about the stand-up set, laughing at the wrong times, even being confused when the audience laughs, as well as signs of dyslexia, which tracks with what we find out later since dyslexia has been called a neurological disorder.
I said anything, and she said
Also, we get put into Arthur's shoes by missing the punchline since Arthur wouldn't know it anyway. He's trying to learn how to be a comic the same way you would learn to drive a car by watching Formula 1. Or maybe a local drag race, but still. And Arthur even applies that observational humor to his own life.
I was hoping you'd come in and rob the place.
I mentioned the unreliable narrator, and really that confident, endearing smile is such a huge tell. Anytime you like what you're seeing, assume you're only seeing what Arthur wants you to see.
Do stand-up comedy? You should maybe come see a show sometime.
Yeah. You let me know when?
Not to mention agreeing to that after confronting him about stalking her. Oh man, something that should have us worried for Arthur is actually terrifying when you remember that it's coming from the Joker. I'll admit, when this scene started, I was literally thinking, come on, we get it. He's having a rough life. You don't need to. Oh, never mind. We also don't see Arthur reach for the gun, adding to the unreliable narrator and the snapping factor of these murders. Not to mention Arthur's gun is a Smith & Wesson Model 36, a .38 Special, which is a revolver that holds 5 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't think this guy is reloading. Some people felt the dancing was just quirkiness to be weird, but the dancing is a pretty big part of Arthur and his connection to his own reality. He dances freely as a clown because he can and he wants to. He also believes he's a great dancer, and when he's feeling powerful, playing with his new gun, coming up with jokes he thinks are funny, murdering 3 people, he almost can't stop the dance. Now his own personal dance music drowns out the world as he slips into fantasy. You could even look at the dancing as the start of the veneer of reality peeling back for Arthur.
Is that part of your new act, Arthur? If your dancing doesn't do the trick, you're just gonna shoot yourself?
More clairvoyance.
And the guy was singing that his name was Carnival, which is crazy because that's my clown name at work.
Which could be evidence that the story is an embellishment at best.
Even I didn't know if I really existed. All I have are negative thoughts.
Trailers destroy good lines, make them gone, and then memes reduce them to atoms. Still a line, still a meme. Eek, John Wayne Gacy reference? Still think Arthur's an anti-hero? Ugh, that's relatable in the worst way. You open your mouth to speak and your vocal cords just don't work, or you get to breathe before speaking.
Smile, though your heart.
I guess Domino is pretty lucky if she can make the crowd laugh. Again, feeling powerful after his date, so more dancing.
You're gonna kill me. You're gonna give me a...
We cut right past the initial confrontation, another jarring smack to the senses. Thomas Wayne's backstories vary from version to version, but for this world to have the general public seem to embrace him as the beacon he often is, but of course, in Joker's version of events, he's just plain evil. The subtext of Joker creating Batman this time, even foreshadowing their future meetings with the bars between them. You stretch enough clown shoes, you can choke the life out of just about anybody.
They said I wasn't funny enough.
Each step along Arthur's transformation, we get moments where he peeks his head above his previous limitations. Each new level of confidence coincides with an event. The murders, learning the truth about his mom, and the confrontation of his supposed stepbrother. I also think he stopped his meds and they're leaving his system slowly. It's left open-ended after his last meeting with his therapist when he actually stops taking them.
When am I supposed to get my medication now?
Even the doors hate the poor in this society. Not everything's subtle. Ooh, a glance that suggests he's breaking free from his fantasy right there.
Everyone laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
You can say that again, pal.
Of all the terrible things to happen to Arthur, that's number 1 the worst. Murray just repeated his punchline and got a laugh as if Arthur's intent wasn't precisely that self-deprecation style humor. Look, the delivery wasn't perfect, but he would have gotten a chuckle. Sometimes the taxi driver nods are quick and subtle. Other times... not exactly a match cut, but a fun transition nonetheless. Unsettling scene either way, but first, particular neurological disorders crave confinement like a security blanket. You could also say Arthur went into his cocoon and Joker came out. Not sure how, since that looks like one of those lock from the outside fridges. Fun fact from this creepy silent screaming scene, John Cashin is also an Arkham inmate on Gotham, the show. Quick thinking. Yikes, just breezing over the lobotomy there. Things are falling into place. And now, as it starts to unravel, we get to see Arthur remembering the one real thing that happened between him and Sophie. Is that a J? And the horror strings slowly lead us to confirm what we've been suspecting for a while. Since we're already talking about the score, how about the shining horns marking Arthur's exit? Pain and terror mixed into an uncontrollable maniacal laugh, almost like Arthur has no control over his transformation. This just in, only Joaquin is up to the task of this thorough impersonation.
Knock, knock.
The saddest part is that I believe Arthur thinks he'd get a laugh from that punchline. You know, sometimes it's hard to keep your brain from thinking, oh, right, because he's Joker. But when you consider that Arthur vindictively wants to play the part that Murray created for him as the failed comic Joker, and he's ready to take credit for the murders, he needs to embrace the persona of the murderer, who had that green hairpiece. It makes sense.
What's with the makeup then?
My mom died. Celebrating.
Honesty?
Hoyt said that
Creepiest stance and look ever.
Thank you, Randall. Thank you so much.
I just want to...
Brutal, I suppose. Yeah, brutal. What a freaking tense moment that's perfectly Joker. Every other murderer would be worrying about Gary talking, considering killing him. So we're freaked out that the chain lock was a ploy just to mess with Gary. But he's full Joker now. He likes Gary and he only kills awful people. Nothing else matters. And now the stairs that were a symbol of Arthur's struggle to climb up are a breeze to dance down as he fully embodies his new skin. Dancing not in private, not for work, but because it's part of who he is and he's gonna let it out now. And inside Arthur's head, the universe's soundtrack is cheering him on, but once we pull back, we get to hear and feel what's really going on. It's not triumphant, it's tragic. And it's not a perfect match, but the track seems to be at least based on a slowed down version of Gary Glitter's Hey song. I'm gonna keep bringing this up, but I really like the idea that Arthur is just living out a fantasy at this point. He's lost his grasp on what's real, and even if everything that's happening is 100% real, all his fear is gone because he sees himself as the architect of his own reality and truly has nothing to lose. No remorse, no guilt, it's funny to him. And he's cool with that now. But not as cool as you'll be when I seamlessly segue to how you can see part 2 right now before it's up on YouTube tomorrow. You just need to slow-mo dance your way on over to today's sponsor, CuriosityStream, who has partnered with my new streaming service, Nebula, where both videos are already published. And when I say my, I mean that together with a bunch of other amazing YouTubers, we designed and built a streaming service video platform for those of you who don't want to see ads before, after, or during content. Genuinely, if you want to watch this video on Nebula, there's a different ending because I don't need to tell people on Nebula about Nebula. It's also given us a lot more freedom to try out new things. I have an original right now that's part of our Working Titles series where we talk about TV show title sequences that's all about Stranger Things. And we've partnered with CuriosityStream so that when you sign up with them through my link, you not only get 1 month free of CuriosityStream, you get access to Nebula for free. And CuriosityStream is only $2.99 a month after that. And you can't go wrong with CuriosityStream because they have thousands of nonfiction titles. I wanted to send you to a title that ties into Joker, but honestly, every time I go to CuriosityStream, I get sucked into something about dinosaurs. So go check out The Rise and Fall of T-Rex because Joker was also scary and killed things. Sign up today at my link in the description to get 1 month free and Nebula free forever as long as you stay subscribed. And since the last time I talked about Nebula, a bunch more Working Titles episodes have been created. Battlestar Galactica from Mia Mulder, The Simpsons from Now You See It, One Punch Man from Nando V Movies, and even more upcoming like Gravity Falls, Westworld, Parks and Rec. So check out the link in the description. Parts 1 and 2 of Everything Great About Joker with my in-depth thoughts are on Nebula now and will be up here tomorrow. And just to be clear, I'm never going to just turn content that I make on YouTube into content on Nebula. Everything on Nebula will be extra on top of my YouTube stuff. But you will often get early access to YouTube stuff on Nebula. So use my link in the description and you get a full month free.